All right, guys. Gonna do a little something different here for the first ride. I am going to take you guys on my first. Usually I get the bikes home, I break them in, get a little bit of a feel for them, then I do like an initial impressions ride review. I'm gonna take you guys on the first ride, first time me sitting on the seat, taking it in the dirt. Just kind of get my initial reactions, you know, on camera. So we'll do that. We'll do like this nice loop that I like to do, and then we'll get off the bike and we'll talk about, you know, my initial impressions and my first thoughts. All right, guys, we are on the a loop that you guys will be familiar with, that I do a lot on the bikes. So we'll do this loop here, and then we'll go to a spot, and you know, I'll interject a little bit in the video. I'm gonna kind of mostly focus on feeling the bike out, seeing how she does, what gear it likes, things like that, and then I'll kind of give you my overall impressions once we're done with the ride. So one thing I can tell you on the way here on the dirt road, it does not like higher speeds. Not the chassis. Chassis is fine. The motor is just yelling. It's going to be screaming, you know, at anything over 50. Whereas, you know, the bigger bikes, you can kind of click it in sixth and cruise those speeds, no problem. That's the first thing I noticed, which that's not what I got this bike for. So I have the 450 for that. But we'll see how she does now on a little bit slower double track stuff here. I'm in third gear right now. Sandy section. Turning up that little the turn and up a slight hill there. I just downshifted once to the second. Suspension feels good, as you would expect. Try to avoid those cactus. Fourth gear still right here, actually. Third. So green map is definitely crisp and snappy. Let's try the white one. Nice little sound to her when you're on the pipe. When you come down to an idle, you almost feel like you're still on the bike because it's so dead quiet. Still in fourth there, I didn't downshift at all. Curious to see how it'll do like that. So let's give it a shot. Not bad. It's got a little low end grunt. Still in fourth on about 30. Kind of intentionally going over the roughest, the most rutted out sections just to feel the suspension. Still in fourth. Pretty deep sand right here. Got nice weather, man. It's actually starting to rain on us. A little bit of drizzle. As long as it doesn't pour, I'm fine. I'm not really into riding in the rain. It's just one cloud over us. Shouldn't be too bad. Just want to get out for an hour and get the break-in done. Big down and up right here. Very nice. Very nice. Really lugging it low here. Right there I was in, I don't remember, third gear. Definitely riding it in a higher gear than you would the 250 I had. Which you would think it'd be the opposite, but it's just speed related. To be comfortable at around 30, you want to be in like 4th gear on this bike. Whereas the 250 was like 3rd gear. Downshifting and stuff as much as you would think. It says a lot about the motor being, you know, it's got some grunt on the bottom. That was one thing why I was a little bit nervous to go with the 125. I just thought, you know, might not be quite enough. This reminds me a little bit of my X Trainer I have, the 300 X Trainer. Because that X Trainer 300 is a very tuned down 300, so you get horsepower in the mid 30s. It's got more torque, the X Trainer, for sure. Suspension's obviously way better on this though. Yeah, so I'm not downshifting at all here. I just want to see how it does. It'll pull out. Back into the green. Oh yeah, it's got more snap. The green map's got big time. Lights up the tire for sure. I think if you want to be more careful and subtle, you keep it in the white. It's kind of similar to the big ones. It's the same way. I don't know why online reviews say that it's opposite, but I'm finding that the green map is snappier than the white map, same way that the 250 and 300 are. Yeah, see, it sounds like I stalled it, right? But it's running. You can't even hear it. I think you definitely get more traction on this loose rocky stuff with the white map. So. As you come to a stop here, listen. You almost can't even hear it running. Sounds like it's going to stall, but it doesn't. I mean, it's idling pretty high. Actually, not high, but it's idling right. But you just can't even hear it. Oh yeah. This bike is fun. Oh yeah. I'm digging it, man. I am digging this. Let's go this way. It's not going to be good for the fast, open stuff. But man, single track is going to be fun. It's so light. It feels so light. It's only about, I guess, 17, 18 pounds lighter than the 300s. But it feels like, man, it feels like 25-pound difference. I mean, it's just crazy. Definitely feels way lighter than my 450 WR. I'm in 4th gear here, let's go up this hill. No problem. I mean, it's got enough bottom grunt where you can still ride this little 150 lazy and not downshift it as much as you think you would need to. I really thought I was going to be all over the gear selector. I have some more thoughts about that here. I'll share with you at the end. Over that. Break in 3 hours, keep it under 70% throttle, and under 100% throttle for 5 hours. So. I'm gonna go this way straight because there's a lot of big downs and ups, and I want to kind of test the torque without downshifting. Like there, I was in 5th gear, believe it or not. Let's go up to 2nd. Yeah, honestly, you want to go up those small hills like in 3rd gear. Actually 2nd gear really revs out quick, so really low. Gear up this hill. That was like quarter throttle. Back up the hill again. I know the cameras make everything look flat, but I'm trying to sit down here too so you can see the angles a little better. We're going to go down here and back up and forth. Try it in the green map, the same thing. Yeah, back tie comes more alive in the green map. I think that green map's good, like the owner's manual says, for deep sand and stuff, because you're going to get full wheel speed. Gear right now, believe it or not. Well, 28 miles an hour. Goes to show you how the gearing and the way the motor spins up on this is a little different than the big ones. Fourth. So that was a good demonstration right there. So I'm in 4th gear. I'm going 12 miles an hour, no clutch. That's 4th gear. I mean, you can really, honestly, it's a lot more forgiving than people say it is. It must be these, it's the newer TBI motors. They just give you more on the bottom, and they're more forgiving to ride. Still in 4th, man. That's just now shifting to 3rd. That goes to show you the difference. It's a big difference. 1st, 2nd, 3rd are very short, it feels like. 4th, 5th, and 6th are pretty close together, but they're a little, but there's a gap. There's a gap there between the 3rd and the 4th, 5th, and 6th gears. Feels good. Trying to get a feel for the two different maps. Yeah, the green map definitely revs out quicker. For sure. Back and forth with this. Yeah, definitely. Green map's a lot more lively, so I think we've established that. That's pretty much the same as the big bikes. I think they just, the way they describe it for the 150s is a little different than, makes you think it's going to be the opposite, but it's really not. Very, very interesting bike. See what gear am I in right now? I think I'm in 4th. It's hard to tell, honestly. Yeah, I was in 4th gear there. So you can hear this thing, how quiet it is. The other thing too I've noticed right away, if any of you guys got the bigger bore ones, the 250s and the 300s, you'll know it's hard to find neutral. No problems with the neutral. Find neutral on this 150. Piece of cake. So looks like the my tape job's not going to hold up. So at least on that bottom piece. So we did 15 miles. That wasn't all with you guys. That was probably like 2.5 miles of dirt road getting here. So what are my initial impressions? Well, first thing you're going to notice if you're hopping on this on a 150 from the bigger bore ones is you're going to notice vibration. I don't believe the 150s and the 125s are counterbalanced, so there's a little bit of buzz. Once you're in the dirt like this, I don't really notice it. You do notice it on the pavement and the a hard pack road. You're going to notice it. Once you get in the dirt, you'll notice, and it's not bad, but there is a slight buzz. I would say it's probably comparable to the counterbalanced betas. Even the counterbalanced beta has beta 2 strokes with the counterbalancing has some vibration, whereas the big bore Husky KTM 250 300s have no vibration with their counterbalance system. This 150 that's not counterbalanced at all feels a lot like the counterbalanced betas. So if you guys are familiar with any of that, that's kind of how it's going to feel. I would say it's probably a little less vibration even than those. My X-Trainer probably had more vibrations than this bike did, and that was counterbalanced bike. So suspension and chassis feel amazing. Very light and flickable. I was coming in a little too hot into some turns, which for my skill level, that's my biggest thing I need to work on is my turning. I think this bike's going to help a lot with that for me, which is going to be fun because you can. It really made it easier to coming in, turn a little hot, get slowed down, and turn the bike and get going where you want to go. Whereas the bigger bore bikes, I feel like I would have blew the turn probably into a cactus. So. The power wise is very interesting to me. At times it reminds me of my WR250 in terms of horsepower and stuff. The WR250 didn't have a ton of torque on the bottom either. I would say the way I rode my WR250 makes me feel a little bit like this bike, in the sense that ride up a gear and you can mash the throttle in a higher gear, and it's not going to get out of control on you, and you can kind of pull your way out of everything. That's kind of the way I rode that WR250 because it was so snappy and rev happy that I would ride it up a gear, and then when I wanted to turn up a hill, I'd be up a gear higher than you probably would want to be, and then I would just give it extra throttle, and that bike just would chug up things that way and gain a lot of traction. This bike feels similar to that to me. I got to get more seat time on it to say for sure, but these TBI 2-strokes feel very 4-strokey, and since the power is very linear, there's not a huge hit in the middle. There is some hit for sure. You can hear it in the video. I'm sure you heard a few times where the RPMs are climbing, and then all of a sudden it just hits the power band. but it's not as nasty and abrupt as the old school two-strokes. It's very linear pull. It really feels good. My initial impressions are it's an absolute blast. Like, it's really fun. So I think it's going to be a really good time, this bike, for sure. I didn't have to downshift as much as I thought I would have to. I wasn't sure what to expect, so I thought I would just really be having, people are like, oh, you got to shift the hell out of the small bore ones and stuff like that. And I think that might be true with that 125. And that was kind of why I leaned more towards this 150 and even flirted with the Beta 200. Is this got that little bit extra torque on the bottom really makes it a little bit more forgiving. And this 150, kind of like I said in my reveal video, versus the 125, the power curve on this, if you want a bike that's just going to be a screamer on top all day long, that's not what this is. The power is all the bulk of the power on this bike is mid-range, for sure. Mid-range, it's its happy place, and it's got enough on the bottom to pull you up and out and into the mid-range. It signs off on the top, and now obviously it's not broken in, so I'm not really hammering the throttle. We'll get more on that once it's broken in, and we can really jam on it. But that's my initial impressions here with this bike. In terms of brakes, the 24s have the Brake Tech brakes still. This is a leftover 2024 model that I picked up. So I don't notice the difference. I mean, everybody's like, you watch some of these YouTube reviews, and I swear to God, some of these people think they're Graham Jarvis. Like, they're just average Joes, and they're like, well, I can, the feel of this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, I don't think the average rider really can feel any of the stuff. Most of the stuff that, like, some of these big channels are describing, like, the brake feel of this versus the brake feel of that bike, and grabs this here and that and whatever. And I'm like, I don't notice the difference. I can't feel a difference, honestly. Now, I can feel a difference on my Yamahas. The Nissan brakes have a different feel altogether. They're a lot more grabby in the front. Specifically, you got to be light on the front brake, or it'll just grab. And the Nissan brakes, that's just the characteristic of them. They were the same way on my Beta. The Nissan brakes are just a lot more grabby, particularly in the front. But these brakes here feel very linear, like same as the Brembos I had on my 250 Husky. So I don't think, for me, it's going to be a problem. I don't notice the difference. And this bike's light enough that even if these Brake Tech brakes aren't as great a stopping power as the Brembos, the bike is so light. It stops, and I'm not a heavy guy. I'm not a big guy. I'm only 170 pounds on a heavy day. I'm usually like around 167, 168. That's with no gear on, obviously. But I don't wear a ton of gear, honestly. Just got my boots and backpack with a tool pouch and some water and stuff. So I don't get all heavied out with gear. So I mean, this bike feels great. I have the suspension all on comfort setting, which is the soft, comfortable setting. They give you like 3 suggested starting point presets in the owner's manual for the shock and the fork. Comfort, standard, and sport. I have in comfort. It feels really good. The comfort on this bike feels like standard settings did on the 250 I had. I think something to do with that is the extra weight that the 250 had versus this. Probably just made the suspension react a little different. But it feels really, really good. Even going fast and hitting a lot of those water bars and G-outs, it takes it really well. So I'm happy with that. Obviously, it's going to break in and it gets a little softer when I get some hours on it. So we'll reevaluate and adjust the suspension clickers. And yeah, man, because this is the WP Exact stuff. It's the first year they put it on the enduro bikes, and this stuff is great. The Exact forks with the closed cartridge stuff. I've never ridden the open cartridge WP stuff. People say it's really, really soft. So this feels great though, this stuff. Well, don't think I'm using about, even on the comfort, I'm using about 60% of my suspension stroke. I'm using about up to there, it looks like. I'm going to pull up those red rubber rings on the way home and see what I'm using. But I don't think I'm using all the suspension there up front. Might even be able to go softer. But it feels really good. I'd rather leave a little bit. Some guys like to use the whole stroke while they're riding. I like to leave a little bit left. This way, God forbid there's an oopsie where you hit something really hard, unexpected. You got a little extra buffer there. so you're not blasting through and bottoming out, and you know, that cause damage to your bike or throw you off too. You know, you want to leave a little bit of buffer, in my opinion. Some guys, everybody's got different you know, different feels about that stuff, but that's how I feel about it. One bummer with this 150 is, looking online, there is nobody that makes pipes for the 150s. I don't know why. Now, some people have used like the FMF pipes for the 125s and stuff. I think there's a couple companies that make pipes for a 125, but you don't want to really use those on the 150 because the 125 pipes come out straight down and then bend up because they're more racy power characteristic. This is an enduro pipe, so it comes out, it goes over, an extra bend, and it's tucked up high. Those 125 pipes come straight down and lower and then just shoot up. Not what I want. Defeats the purpose of the enduro trail bike. So honestly, it runs really good. Compared to my 250, this bike runs way cleaner and crisper. I mean, like 100%. That 250 just always felt over the top rich. Even with the TSP tune, cleaned it up a ton. I mean, when I bone stock, I couldn't even use the white map on the 250. It was just rode like really burbly and just didn't feel good at all. Felt like it just felt really rich. And you want a little bit rich, obviously, for enduro situations. That's they do run them a little rich on purpose. That bike felt over the top rich. When I put the TSP tune on it, it felt way better, way more crisp. Green map was mint, white map was a million times better. This bike, bone stock, out of the box like this, feels way better tuned than that 250 did. Just 100%. Feels really good. In terms of spooge, that was a huge thing. So I got about, it's just hitting the bottom of the end cap there. Not too bad. The 250 on this ride I just did, I would be halfway down the pipe and it'd be getting ready to drip on the swing arm already. That bike drooled like a pig. It was, I don't know what it was with that bike, but I can never make it stop doing that. It was just a characteristic of it. Now my buddy Scott has a 300 and his barely gets any. He'll get that much after 3 rides, you know, of slow single track stuff. So it's interesting how the different motors have different characteristics like that. But yeah, man, initial impressions really good. I'm not like, oh my god, why'd I buy this thing? There was a couple points I may or may not have been giggling out loud because it felt just so fun and playful. So I'm gonna have a little more fun on it, take a different section back home, and then I'm gonna do the first transmission oil change on it and go through the bike, you know, initial break-in, check all the nuts and bolts again, check the chain tension, all that stuff. And we will do another ride review when I get several hours on it and I really have a feel for the bike, and we'll do like an initial impressions review, more encompassing of my feelings and thoughts on it after I get some more time. So this is Joe at Odyssey Off-Road. Plenty more to come on this bike. I have more to come too on the WR450, so stay tuned for that stuff. Then we have the Sport Quad stuff, as you guys know. And I appreciate you guys watching. If you stuck around this long, smash that thumbs up button, please. Helps me a ton. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and you're coming back and watching the videos regularly. Consider subscribing. It also helps me out a ton. We're almost at 10,000 subs. Trying to get there before Christmas. That would be amazing Christmas gift for me if you guys can get me over 10,000 subs. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next video. Get out there and ride and be safe.